So before he landed in Beijing last night for this historic meeting with President Xi, Anthony Albanese attended the International Import Expo in Shanghai. Premier Li Qiang gave a pitch there that China should have membership of this Trans-Pacific Pact, which they've been blocked from entering. Anthony Albanese, very cautious in his words. Australia up till now has opposed it. I don't think there's any question they would support China going in, but he certainly wasn't going to say that ahead of his meeting with President Xi. That'll make his press conference here in just over an hour's time interesting because, again, he doesn't want to front-run this meeting with President Xi, but here was Anthony Albanese on that the Trans-Pacific Pact earlier.
The way that I deal with things is to have meetings with people. When we have meetings, not to foreshadow in press conferences what will happen in those meetings. The way that you deal and the way that we've improved relations with countries is by having respectful relations with them and respectful discussions with them.
There really is an expectation, though, from the Australian government these trade sanctions will be lifted, the remaining ones on lobster and beef. And Don Farrell let the cat out of the bag, speaking to Sky News in Shanghai on this.
It was $20 billion worth of impediments. With the recent announcement in respect of wine, that's down to $1 billion. We're hopeful that as a result of this visit, that we can get that down to zero, and that the remaining impediments, lobster and beef, will be removed.
So, Tom, the Foreign Minister Penny Wong's arrived in Beijing. She'll be attending the bilateral with President Xi and another bilateral with Premier Li. It's pretty clear that she's key to all these negotiations, getting this trip happening. And her term, stabilisation of the relationship, is one the Prime Minister and all the Australian officials are using. They're saying it can't return to the situation it was in, this relationship, when Malcolm Turnbull visited in 2016. But it's all about stabilising it. I'd say the mere fact we're on the ground shows it's starting to stabilise. It's in a lot better position than it was a year ago, but there are still many unresolved issues. We're out of the deep freeze. We're still on defrost setting, and should be for some time, Tom.
Yeah, well, literally right now, Andrew. I hope it warms up a little bit. I think it's going to soar up to 9 degrees. Some sunshine always helps. I guess the other fascinating thing will be...
I'm in the deep freeze, yeah. Tom. I can tell you.
Yeah, you've got to tell your camo, a bit of sunlight, you know, it might not be the best shot, but maybe it's good for you, the journalist. I guess the fascinating thing to be watched will be Anthony Albanese will be asked about human rights issues, you know, how he manages that dance and how far he's willing to go. Because one of the things the opposition has been beginning to say, because the situation and the relationship's going well and the trade's going well, now they're sort of going, oh, well, hang on, are they going hard enough on human rights, which would be a pretty bold move to do when you're in China.
Yeah, well, I've noticed James Patterson's getting more of a run than Taylor Swift back home at the moment, Tom. He makes some good points, obviously, but I think there'll be in the opening remarks of Albanese some mention of that. Certainly in his press conference summing up the meeting tomorrow, he'll mention that. He might not be as strong here as he will be on the ground in Australia on it, but it's been made clear to us that all those sorts of concerns, the South China Sea, human rights, Yang Hengjun, they're going to be raised at this meeting. They're not shying away from that, the Australians. And I'm sure they'll be been encouraged by President Biden to do so. I think the fact that Joe Biden kept in front of the Australian media talking about his talks with Xi Jinping, the fact that we're entering this AUKUS agreement, we all know where the situation's at. It was interesting at this International Import Expo that Premier Li hosted in Shanghai, who the other participants were, though. Iran visited, and so did Serbia, so it wasn't really a mainstream thing. The message that I'm getting so far from what we're hearing from Premier Li and just generally on this trip is China, who we know have had some economic troubles, are looking to open up a bit more. They're not going to go to the situation they were at, but it seems clear to me they want to do more trade, they want to open up more, they want to expand their economic opportunities, and I think that can only be a good thing for the world if we can take even a little bit of that tension out.
It's a good point. They have a huge demographic time bomb coming and, of course, big issues in construction. So when China's doing things, it's usually helping them as well. Andrew Clennell, thank you.